My name is Abina Johnson, and this is Focus on Liberia. Hit it! From Cape Mount to Cape Palmer, mountain back to Atlantic Ocean, Obomi Hills to Pokonjre, to educate, elevate, and promote. Yeah, focus on Liberia, for Liberia, Liberia, for Liberia, yeah, 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 yeah. From Monday to Sunday, from Monday to Sunday, it's focus on Liberia. Talk about home affairs, hey, in diaspora, current affairs, hey, reliable information, history, ooh, talking about culture, yeah, politics, education, entertainment, yeah, business, sports, advertisement, articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday. Focus on.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of On Point, our glorious national military band. They are so good. It reminds me of the good old days when Liberia's national anthem, our military, when it was high school, I would call gala day, all those major days. That was the song you listen to when it was Armed Forces Day. That was the patriotic song that we all danced to. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of On Point. Please do us a favor, share the show, guys. Share the show on your platform, your network. And if you can please put the show in the link in our chat room, then I will be able to share it as it is. For some reason, Facebook blocked me. I can't share anything. So, guys, let's share the show. Ladies and gentlemen, join the show. Let's be interactive. It's going to be hot today. We're going to talk about issues. We're going to talk about what's happening in Liberia. I know we have spoken on some of these things, especially corruption ad nauseum, to the point now where you got so much of it you want to throw up. But that's our country. We have to talk and talk until we get what we want. Let me introduce the brilliant minds of our Liberian community, people who know a lot about Liberia. Let me start with Washington, D.C. Mr. Eastman, how you doing there, sir?
It's a pleasure being here with these astute gentlemen. Lot of stuff going on in our country right now. As the former president, Ellen Johnson, remarked, we are at crossroads. But aren't we always at crossroads? But more importantly, we see things ongoings in the legislature that may tell a lot. So it's a pleasure to be here.
Great. Mr. Tower, how is Houston?
Houston is pretty good today. It's been raining since last night. The storm is flooded in some neighborhoods, but we are fine. And I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to have my political analyst back. I thought he left because I mentioned something about Yola. If that's the reason, I'm sorry. Please come back. We miss you.
Thank you very much. From the city of brotherly love, Mr. Anthony Gay, the nationalist. How you doing that, sir?
Thank you very much, Mr. Jerome. As always, it's a privilege for me to be here to share the platform with my senior brothers, and my colleague, Dr. Budi and myself. I think we're the same age group, if I'm not mistaken. But everybody else, you guys are my senior brothers. So when I come here, I don't see it as a right. I see it as a privilege, and not many young people have the opportunity to be among um, senior brothers, so I take this as an opportunity to learn.
Thank you. From South Jersey, our political analyst, Mr. Victor Nangbe.
Thank you, Jerome. It is good to be here. Happy Sunday to you all. Happy new daylight savings time to everyone. To my compatriots in Liberia, just know when you wake up at 5 a.m., it is only midnight here on the East Coast. Don't be calling yet. Don't just call as soon as you see daylight. When it is 7 a.m. in Monrovia, it is only what? Midnight here or so. So please do the calculations. But it's good to be here, Mr. Tao. I'm glad to be back here with you. I know you bring the heat, but that's what we're here to do. To bring the heat. Hopefully, at the end of the day, we will help our people understand the issues. I'd like to also congratulate my Nimba Women International. They had a convention in Philadelphia over the weekend. Very successful convention. My wife is a part of Yola. She's the VP there. She's also the VP over here, Mr. Towers, just so you know that. But it's good to be here.
Great. Across the pond, way across yonder, the old folk used to say, Dr. Fidel C.T. Booty, the strong defender of Yekepa, Nimba County. Anything to come out of Nimba, he's ready to go to fight. Mr. Booty, how are we doing? And how the queen doing? Or how the king doing?
Well, I don't know much about the king. I'm going to say, Mr. Gay, I might be older than you, even though I don't have the gray hair just yet. So I might still be your older brother. Last week I saw ANC in your description. Now you nationalists. So I don't know what you'll be next week. Mr. Nangwe, it's always glad to have you here. Please don't allow Mr. Tao to run you off the show, because I'm sure you'll be glad about that. But I think just before I say how glad I am to be, I would like to say it's great, Mr. Nangwe, to see that your passion for Liberia, that Mr. Gayman has mentioned, started back in the 70s, when you guys were the progressives, has continued, right? So coming to the US hasn't changed that, and also to see your wife involved as well. That's really good. So thank you very much for your service.
Thank you as well. You as well, Dr. Buri. I know you're younger than I am, but I see you really understand the issues. And I think you also have a passion to deliberate on the best and sometimes the worst that's happening to Liberia. and hopefully we can all help to bring the light. So thank you as well. Thank you to you all, including even my brother Jimmy. You know, even though you say he's not a Congo man, I'll not go there today.
Yeah. Gentlemen, you see when you talk about Congo people, then you go say we are all interrelated. You can't hide that piece of yourself. You can't hide from yourself. Because when we start talking it, somebody told me I was talking about the largesse and some of the privileges that I enjoy from Mrs. Louis York and all of these 44. Oh, you say you can't remember? So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome, guys. Listen, all of you belong to big firm platforms. Let's share the show. Let's get interactive. We do not want to agree with each other here. We want to debate the issue because Liberia deserves to be debated. There are some serious issues happening in Liberia. The only way we can actually get rid of some of our ills is by discussing it fervently and defending your spot. If it's wrong, it's wrong. If it's right, it's right. So let's talk about some of the issues that are burning in Liberia. Like, for instance, the Liberians, from the very inception of this government, said that this notion that Joseph Boyka was introducing to introduce a new system of traffic control in Liberia, the public went against it. Everybody went, the analysts came and said, this is bad business. In the midst of the chaos in Liberia, Joseph Boyka has signed this agreement for 25 years, concession agreement, under darkness. And it's not making any big news because there are too many things happening. These people thrive in chaos. We discussed that. We want to continue the discussion about what's happening on Capitol Hill in Monrovia. Is it by design? Is it a distraction? Are they distracting us while we are here and they're passing these major concession agreement against the Liberian people? We're going to be discussing Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. She spoke on her 86th birthday. She said, as a clock, 86, Liberia is at a crossroads. And then she said, Liberia doesn't need noise. The legislature, they are making noise and not policy. We'll discuss that. Then we want to talk about, when we talk about Liberia, we are so passionate. So let's start with this Funati Kofa versus some other guys. Every day there's a star. They are at the hotel, RLJ Hotel, camping out, having a great time at our expense. They are still at our hotel. It's a retreat within a retreat. Our political analyst, Mr. Victor Nambe, you are more closer to this administration. But this one is this one is not the administration per se. We are seeing that some people are pulling strings on this particular platform. Our young, brilliant young man Morris said, Joseph Boyka is a very dangerous politician. He is actually like the mafia equivalent to a Don. You won't see him, you won't hear him, but he will send his commandos to go and whack you. And when the folks come, he said, I didn't see anything. I didn't hear anything. I'm just in my corner, those boys doing their own thing. So here we are. Mr. Nambe, what's happening on Capitol Hill? Let's do the Constitution versus the political theater that's going on there. Who wins?
I don't know if there's going to be a winner out of this, Jerome. What is happening on Capitol Hill is very unfortunate. This is an attempt at power grab. I'm not a fan of Funati Kofa. Let me make that very clear. And I also reject the fact that you are aligning me with this current government. I support the CPP. for for full disclosure. But notwithstanding, this government has won, and therefore it is now our government. And this is democracy. And this is what our guys on the Capitol Hill are refusing to respect. All right. You may have supported a side, but once the elections are over, the elections are over. You can't come back again and relitigate a process that has already been sanctioned by the will of the people. Um, Speaker Kofa was elected. Now, democracy doesn't always produce the results that we all desire, but it is a process that we have all accepted, that we all ascribe to effect change. If Speaker Kofa is behaving in a way that you find unacceptable, use the ballot box and remove him. What is happening on Capitol Hill, I said here, is this confluence of several different competing interests. You know, we all know President Boakai has been trying to to bring the speaker position under the sphere of the UP government. We know that. We know Thomas Fowler wants to be speaker. We know that. We know Josh Weir is interested in removing Fonati because he poses a challenge to him in 2029. We know that. We know Musa Hassan Belite wants to be speaker. So there are a lot of, but there is nothing wrong with that as long as it is done within the confines of the Constitution of the law of the Republic, the laws of the Republic of Liberia. What the guys are doing at the 43 is disgraceful. Unfortunately, Fala has now cast his lot with these people. I think it should be detested and resisted. And I'm happy I'm hearing that people are organizing on this Tuesday. There's going to be a massive protest. They should know. You can just get up and decide, kneel away and go lock yourself in a hotel and decide you're going to remove a speaker. There is a process for that. There is a process for that. How would you throw the process to the wing and just go and cordon yourself up for over 2 weeks now? Who's even paying their bills while they're in there? You know, I wish there would be a way for these people to be held in contempt or one way or the other, you know, to pay for the nonsense that they're doing. Look, there are a lot of good people in there. I'll be honest with you. Austin B. Taylor is a very young and successful, independently wealthy guy. He's representing my district. I've spoken to him about this. They have legitimate concerns, and I get it. I understand that. But let it be done in the way it has been prescribed by our laws. That is my problem with it. And I hope that people will reverse this. Let them go in the Capitol building and remove their Funati for Christ's sake. We don't mind. But right now, what they're doing, they're sending a message that it is okay. Even when someone is constitutionally elected, you can just wake up one morning, watch your face and say, I don't like the shirt Jimmy is wearing. Even though he was constitutionally elected to sit on the panel here, I want him out. And you go and lock yourself in a hotel until Jimmy is removed from this. That's nonsense. So they need to really cut it out. They need to come back to the Capitol building and take care of the people's business.
Good. Our nationalist, as of today, he's a nationalist, Mr. Anthony Gay. Here we are. This, the English people call it a dichotomy, a clear dichotomy. The Constitution versus the political will. Who wins?
The Constitution wins.
Make your case.
Listen, first of all, good evening to all and to our followers. This is the opportunity for us to have a dialogue as citizens of Liberia. I'm very disappointed in my two lawmakers from Grand Juda County who also have fixed their signature on these situation with the majority bloc. I had an opportunity to be on the same platform with them where I asked them direct question. Matter of fact, the resolution that they have presented and the reason why they signed up is not what they're arguing. They want to be on committees. That resolution did not reference committee. So if you want to be on a committee, then discuss that committee issue on the floor. But you can write a resolution. At some point, they wanted to change the resolution from being the removal of the speaker to a vote of no confidence. Well, there is no such thing as vote of no confidence in the legislative rules to remove a speaker. There is a removal prescription that is there. So now they're going back again to the original resolution that is signed. Second thing that we have here is that there's a stay order from the Supreme Court that it should halt everything that it's doing and appear before the Supreme Court on Monday, which is tomorrow. So what it should have done last Thursday was to show up in regular section, not the separate section that they have. So that prohibition from the court could be read before everyone, and so that they can go to the Supreme Court and resolve this matter. Because Article 26 of the Constitution of Liberia prescribed that provision that the Supreme Court can step in. If you adjourn the legislature 5 times in a row, automatically the Senate will shut down. We have a bicameral legislative process in Liberia, meaning one of the other cannot function without the other one. If there is no House of Representatives, the Senate cannot function. If there is no Senate, the House of Representatives cannot function. That's the form of government that we have. And because of that, both houses, operate interchangeably. They need each other to function as a whole. And what is happening right now, we have this very same lawmaker. A few weeks back, they were the very same people who protested, took keke, motorbike to work because they did not receive that $45,000 to get that vehicle. We pay for that vehicle. Now they're refusing to come to work to do these people's job. But quote unquote, honor their own thing. They are doing the Liberian people business. How are you doing the Liberian people business when you refuse to come to work? And when you come to work, their job assigned area, you refuse to go there and go somewhere else and sit in a group and say you're having a section. Under no provision, neither the Constitution nor the House standing rules says that you can go somewhere else where you do not have, the speaker, or this case, and the deputy speaker follow you, but we still have an elected city speaker. The Speaker of the House of Representatives is the head of the Liberian legislature. The Speaker plays a significant role in the government. If Liberia should go to war today, it requires the signature of the Speaker to declare war on another country. If Liberia should sign any concession deal, it requires the signature of the Speaker. The speakership is not just an ordinary, position. There's a very serious position here. And these guys took an oath of office that they will uphold, defend, and protect the Constitution of the Republic of Liberia. So help me God.
Thank you.
And you refuse to uphold this particular Constitution.
Before my colleagues come in, Mr. Gay is citing something that I hope we can all. I'm probably missed that out Article 26, but all of the legal experts I've spoken to on the Liberian Constitution, I think the Supreme Court's intervention is an overreach. The Supreme Court does not have the right to interfere in this matter. Yes, the Supreme Court has the right to affirm the legitimacy of the Speaker. That's how far as they go. But as to demand anything of the legislature is an overreach. So I don't know what Article 26 exactly says.
Okay, great. Mr. Eastman.
Well, but I didn't say the Supreme Court would do X, Y, Z. The Supreme Court only did that part that you just said. They affirmed
but to even tell these people to adhere to what the Supreme Court is proposing is illegal. The Supreme Court is overreaching. They got no right. They're overstepping the bounds.
But listen to this.
And then they will have to do justice to Article 26 and read it to the audience.
Mr. Nambit, the Constitution gives the Speaker the right to appeal to the Supreme Court to force, or it didn't say force, they compel the majority to come back to section.
Correct.
So they did that.
Correct.
They said before they can do an order, they say a stay order, but we want a conference like they always do.
Right.
So
they don't have the right to issue a stay order on anything, on any proceeding.
No. Listen to this. The Supreme Court has the right to say we'll compel you to go. But before we do that, you need to come so you can have an amicable audience.
No, Jerome, this Jerome gonna have no right to compel him to do
Well,
anything.
well, the people that I've talked to said Funati have the right to ask the Supreme Court to compel them to come to section. So how does the Supreme Court do that?
If the speaker's position is being challenged,
right?
For instance, if the speaker's position is being brought into question, whether he is legitimate or not, yes, the Supreme Court has the right to affirm that. But the Supreme Court does not have absolutely any right to intervene in any proceedings at the House.
But listen to this. let me before I go to Jimmy here. Our Constitution, we are a constitutional republic.
Right.
We are not a monarchy. We are not a parliamentary government where a vote of confidence and all that. So
that is exactly my point. We are a democracy of three equal branches of government.
That's correct. So this thing about a vote of no confidence, our Constitution and no rules in the Republic. Mr. Eastman, here we are. We have a constitutional crisis here. A gentleman says, well, we got 43 people. We can move anybody we want. And Funati Cooper said, hold on. The Constitution says, yes, if you have a majority, you can put your case on the floor. If you don't want me, you need 2/3 of the majority, 49, to get me out of here or to begin the process, which is the due process of law, guaranteed by the Constitution. So if my brother says the Supreme Court has is an overreader, have no part, the Supreme Court does. Because the Constitution requires that you have a due process of law. It's guaranteed under our Constitution. And if you violate that, go ahead, Mr. Eastman.
There's been a lot of arguments put forth on the legality of the actions of this majority bloc, this so-called or so-named majority bloc. But I think what should really alarm us is we have people that represent us that do not care about shutting down the government or doing the people's business if their personal interest is not prioritized. We know very well that they have to reach a 2/3 majority before they remove a speaker. But since they don't have the numbers, they've chosen to be out of chambers. So in effect, they're trying to make the speaker ineffective. And by doing such, force him to resign. But the speaker, on the other hand, is adamant, and he's not allowing them to force him into a decision. He's saying, bring your argument to chambers, and let's vote upon what we should do. So what will happen in the end, if this continues, is we'll have a government shutdown because the Senate cannot operate by itself. The executive that wants to pass the budget and all other items that require legislative action will not be able to do it. So then the government will shut down. I think we need to rethink how we handle people in the legislature and in the Senate. We have to protect ourselves against these renegade representatives. Where they should not be allowed to shut down our government because of their own personal interests that they seek. If they don't want the speaker, they have a means of doing it. But you stay out of office? Why should you be allowed to stay out of office when you are being paid? The other day they received their $45,000 each for vehicles. You're still receiving salary. What gives you the right to stay? Think of it this way. Any one of us here who work just thinks that I will not go to work until y'all don't get me a water cooler in this office. What will happen to you? You'll be fired. This is what we need to do. We need to instill regulations that if they conduct this renegade behavior, that I will not go to work because I don't want that speaker to be there. Instead of following the channel to remove him, we need to reel these people in. This is an opportunity. I think this is an existential threat to our democracy. We have to bring these people, let them know that they're working for us, and by virtue of their being elected, they don't make them demigods and putting them over the rights of people. We need to be able to subjugate these people to the law, to our laws, and bring and fire them if necessary for this sort of action. I think Liberian people, I think there's something very docile with taking this line down. Other people will never let this happen. There'll be massive protests, and there would be a call for that whole legislature to be dismissed, and we re-elect people because these people are not in our interest. So I think this is a moment that we really rethink this process, because it's completely foolish when you think about it. I will just not go to work. That's what they're telling us. And you don't have that right if you're working for the people. And that's my stance on it.
Mr. Towell, the guys are saying the Constitution guarantees our 6 years whether I go to work or not. I'm going to get paid. I don't care. You can't do anything to me. So they're doing that. In the meantime, those of us who got some suspicion that the executive has a lot to do with this too, while they are fighting here, they are signing concession agreements, they are passing dirty deals. The primary responsibility of the House is oversight. They are not overseeing anything. So here we are. Joseph Walker is living his best life. He can sign anything, he can do anything, because there is no oversight, no one to control.
Okay. So in the first place, I don't know why we're making all the noise and we're all jammed out of shape like something else was expected to happen. I've been mentioning it here. The system is corrupt. The system was really never meant to work in the interest of the people. You can look at how it's structured. Just to a point here, the Supreme Court really don't have any authority to demand anything within the house, in both houses, on like trying to regulate them. Yes, like Nangbe said, I've looked into it myself and I've read many other things. Even here in the US that we live in here, it's very similar. So yes, the Supreme Court can make those statements like it made, but it can't say anything. But look, this is what I'm going to say here before I say everything else. Fonati Kofa is going to be out. He's already actually done. He can't continue, and this is why. Fonati Kofa does not have money. He don't have money equal to the government of Liberia to continue to fund or bribe the people that are with him. The government have endless cash. The government, the other guy, like my brother Mr. Gay was saying, they promise people committee rooms and different things and different perks. Kofa is not able to provide that. Eventually, he's going to lose those people and he's going to be out. There is maybe just a delay. Okay, that's what's going on right now. What's going on, how right it is and it's not. Look, nothing goes on in the house that is right. Let us not take this one here. We're screaming and shouting that there is corruption, they're bribing. The whole house is a corrupt mafia group. This is what they do. The largest batch of corruption take place legally in the houses, in both houses. So when somebody say they give somebody 15,000, then we're saying that they should investigate what. But look, the legislature really don't work for you. They don't work for you. We can't do anything. We can't make any demands. We can't do nothing to them. That yes, in theory, yes, that is what it says. But practically, they don't work for you really. So what are we going to do? You're going to jump on the street to say what? Get in there for 6 years and 9 years. What are you going to do to them? You're going to vote them out? Okay, so vote them out. You voted the other ones out. Honor Judge Weah. You brought this group in. Look at their behavior is worse than even the people that are under Judge Weah. Gentlemen, it is not the people actually. The system that you have is what facilitates this. The system enables for stuff like this to happen. We need to look at this system. I don't know what we are fighting so much to hold on to. It said that because we went to some schools and were indoctrinated in some ways that we have some degrees, so then our importance and our value on how we project and see ourselves is connected to these things and interpretation, so that for us to then question these things and try to see, hey, let's critique it. Let's see what doesn't work and which one can work for us. But each time I mention it,
Mr. Tao,
there's pushback.
Mr. Tao, do you know of another system that works? You can condemning this or criticizing this, but do you have a system that works that people will be given the
many other
priority.
systems work. Many other systems work. And because who told you that Western democracy system doesn't work like the way it's supposed to? In the very US that we live in, you know that many of the laws, you know that many of the stuff that the way they run this country, you know that it's not by constitution. Go, you are in Washington, D.C., we are here. I follow it for almost 20 years. The Constitution, they avoid it and they run this country by policies. Policies bypass the Constitution to allow corrupt stuff to go on. Why you think when you're talking about decree, when you talk executive order, it's a decree. That is how they run this stuff. So the Constitution said that they will show you the very fine document. Look at it, it's written right at the founding fathers. But they don't go by that. They go by policies and by decrees, which is executive order, to bypass the Constitution and do the wrong things. But look, to close on this right here, there is nothing different here. We look at what you call the mother of the nation, right? Because we had the fathers. The mother of the nation is Ellen, right? You saw on her 2 speakers were removed. Everything that you see happening, this old lady set the stage. She set a very, very bad foundation. When she came to power in 2005, 2006, everything has broken down. A good leader with good intention for the country was going to lay a very good foundation. Like, yeah, Paul Kagame have his own problems, which I know, but look at, he tried and he laid some foundation, and they're standing now. When Rollins then came to power in Ghana, he was not perfect, but he laid some kind of foundation. This lady came in and she laid a very, very bad foundation. So everybody's following exactly what she did. And when these things happen, nothing happened. The same way we are here complaining and following when they removed snow. It was very similar to this. It was very simple. Money was thrown around. Promises were made. He was forced out. Tyler, when she fell out with Tyler, it was the same thing. This is what we are seeing.
Thank you.
Brother, before you leave the stage, could you please clarify when you say these people do not work for us? I don't understand that.
They don't work for you.
When we elect, they don't work for you. In reality, when we elect,
let me clarify now. In reality, they don't work for you. On paper, they say you elected them, but in reality, what are they doing that reflect the interests of the people? They listen to you.
Now,
it's simply saying they don't seek our interest.
Now listen
so
to
they don't work for you.
When I'm coming to you, Dr. Booty, but I'm going to lay the premise here. When Victor Nambe talked about the Supreme Court, I reached out to a very great constitutional lawyer here in Palm Beach, Mr. Finney, and he sent me a link. He said, yes, the Supreme Court has power to limit the power of the legislature through judicial review. He said the Supreme Court's power to declare that laws and executive orders are illegal are all within the premise of the Supreme Court. Mm-hmm. So he says here, every rule within all committees has to conform with the Constitution.
Mhm.
If it violates the Constitution, the Supreme Court has the right to intervene and say this is
But
It's
those
not
are,
and
yeah,
void.
they can do that. But I'm saying you, they don't have the
Yeah,
right
but
to
Article
compel.
5 of our Constitution speaks to that.
Listen to this. Mr. Booty,
The- the-
go ahead, your
yeah,
turn.
let me
I was
kind
going to
take
say
it.
something, you didn't let me in, and then you're just going to
Well,
move on to
Mr.
Dr. Barrow.
Nangbe,
Go ahead, Dr.
Okay.
Mr.
Barrow.
Nangbe,
Let
you
you
see
finish.
the
Let Mr. Booty
Okay.
come in.
no, let
Okay.
Mr. Nangbe make his
The
point.
man
Let
say,
Mr.
I
Nangbe
don't
make his
like him.
point.
You see that my brother now. Okay, go ahead. Land.
No, thank you, Dr. Booty. And let me recognize the CT. I didn't see that at first. I know it wasn't there previous appearances ago. Dr. Fidel CT Booty. Thank you, my brother, for giving me a minute. Look, Jerome, I understand what you're saying, but this is part of the problem. We must respect the separation of powers, right?
That's correct.
Three equal branches of government. Yes, the Supreme Court can intervene in matters where there is uncertainty and make clarification, but they can't issue orders on the legislature. They can't compel them to do nothing.
Your
That in
Constitution,
itself, that in
So,
itself will also.
your Constitution says to compel. It's there.
so, so,
No, but you
so,
have to
so, so, Mr.
Mr.
Nangbe, if I may,
Okay.
Dr. Booty,
Listen,
please,
no,
if I may,
Dr.
30 seconds,
let
Let
please.
Dr.
Dr.
Booty
Booty
go.
take his,
Dr. Booty,
let
go ahead.
Dr. Booty take his
Yeah,
spot,
after
please.
Dr. Booty, can you give me 30 seconds on this particular matter?
Yes,
Because I
yes,
think
yes.
I need to respond to
Go ahead. Go
Mr.
ahead,
Nangbe.
Doc.
Okay, so I like the point that Mr. Nangbe has made, but I'll have to disagree with him. So let's point out for me, I like to use the facts, right? So Article 38 of our Constitution says that the legislature, each house, will make their own rules, right? And you need 2/3 of the membership of each house to pass that rule. For that rule to be accepted, you need 2/3 of the house to vote to say, yeah, this is the rule, or these are the rules that are going to govern us. And they have to adhere to that rule as per the Constitution. And the adherence to that rule is subject to due process. That's what Article 38 says. It is
Yes.
Yep.
subject to due process, right?
Correct.
Yep.
That means in the application of the rule that you have set that is under the Constitution, protected by the Constitution, you have to abide by the process, the principles of due process. So, what does the House rule say? The same rule that these 43 voted for. It says that look, if you want to put a motion forward to remove the speaker, it has to be done in a regular session where there is a quorum of members, right? Not in a sideways section, not in a session in a hotel. In the regular session in the chambers of the House, you have to put that forward. That's what their own rules said. Those
Correct.
rules, again, Article 38 says, are subject to the due process principles of our Constitution. Now, let's jump to Article 65. Article 65 says that the role of the judiciary is equal co-power role is to apply the laws that the legislature will pass. So when you pass the law in Article 38 that says you can set your rules and that rule must apply and the principles of due process must apply, and then you want to bypass the principles of due process, the court, once the court is petitioned, which is what Mr. Fonatikofa did, he went to
Yep.
the court and said, look, here are our rules, right? Here are the rules that we voted in that are protected by Article 38 of our Constitution and
Correct.
subjected to the principles of due process. These people won't bypass it. Can you, Mr. Court, as per Article 65, do your job and interpret this law and apply the law to what they're doing? So the court said, oh, hey, as per the law, you can't do what you're doing. If you want to
Correct.
remove it, you have to come into the regular chambers. You have to submit whatever petition you have. It has to be voted on. And 2/3 of your membership have to agree before you can move the man. Now, I don't know Funati Kofa, right? Even though I'm a crew brother, but I don't know him. I don't have an issue with him. I don't have an issue against him. If the people want to remove him for whatever reason, that's their right. But you have to do it within the confines of the Constitution
That's
of the
enough.
Republic of Liberia and do it within the rules that you yourself voted on.
Thank you.
Now, if Mr. Kofa is not giving you committee role, go. There are many ways, Mr. Nangbe. If you and I were in an institute, you're my boss, and I want certain assignment, I ain't getting it. I ain't going to start complaining to Mr. Eastman, who is your boss. I'll come to you, Ochi Nangbe. Yes, they assign me. I really like it. You think there's a way you can put me on it? I will try and play politics with you so that you can find favor in me and give me the thing. But to then try and hold this guy at ransom, hold the Liberian people at ransom because you have personal. And I like the point that Mr. Tao made, even though we don't agree all the time, that these people are not working for the Liberian people. And that's a fact. These guys go in there, and I don't know what it was Mr. Eastman that made the point. Oh, they've been voted for 6 years. They don't care. They know that after 5 years, they'll buy some bed rest, go into villages and start trunking around people, forget what they did for the last 5 years and vote them in again, right? They're not doing these things for the people of the country. They're doing it for themselves. I believe, and I'm going to end on this, that what Mr. Kofa is doing, we should support, not because we like him, simply because he's trying to compel them to do what is lawful. And every leader in Liberia should be doing the same. And the reason that these guys think they can do it is because our president is not doing it. He's suspending people when he's not supposed to be suspended because they're in tenure position. He's replacing central bank government when he has no duty, and nobody is saying anything. So these guys are getting emboldened and think, oh, but if the president can do it, then we can do it too, right? And this needs to stop. And this is where now I put the blame on the president, because he should be acting lawful, not lawless. Because people see the head getting rotten, everybody starts to get rotten.
Great.
Mr. Give me my 30 seconds, please.
Mr. You say you need a 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Yes, please. And I think Mr. Booty did me justice, by throwing some light. But listen, Article 26 is there for a particular reason. Yes, we have 3 separate branches of government. They all operate independently. But if in the case where there is an issue, the judiciary come into play. The Supreme Court don't go looking for cases. They don't go looking for problems to say, oh, we want to solve this case. They are there once somebody bring a petition to them in the particular case that Speaker Kofa did, then they look into it and use the law. We all should frown anybody who try to circumvent the law and try to do things, to twist the law in their own favor. We should all frown upon it. And that's why I'm supporting the on Tuesday protest. Because you know why? I am not, for nothing Kofa, I don't know him personally. I never met him in person to begin with. But Dr. King said, an injustice to one is an injustice to all. This particular circumstances that we all should stand up against it. No one should just wake up one day and say, oh, I don't like this person. If you don't like this person and you don't have the required number, then you must go to a session every time until you can convince. You were able to convince 43 people. Yours started as 47. The idea that you use to convince 47 person, you can still use that idea to get 2 more person. Now you are 44. Get another 5 additional person and go through the due process. What is so hard about this? Why should we come here, and try to talk about this when you already know the rules? Every game has a rule, and in this particular case, your standing rule 9.1 say you must have 2/3 majority, which is 49. You do not have it, you can't boycott the process. If you boycott the process, you are violating the Constitution. You refuse to go to work, you want to get paid. That's another cheating. You are violating it. So, you're not supposed to get paid. Technically, you're not supposed to get paid for this month because you refuse to go to work. We buy your vehicle for you to go to work. And you say you're not going to work because you want to remove a person. Thank you, Mr.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Mr. Guinness, can I ask you a question, please? A quick question.
Yes.
Do you have people that work for you?
Yes.
Okay. But they work for you. Who determine their salary?
I do.
Who determine their bonuses?
I do.
Who determine their vacations?
I do.
I rest my case.
Great.
Don't work for you.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Mr. Reza,
yes.
hang on.
I don't understand the point that Mr. Tower is making.
No. Mr. Tower made a point because the lawmaker made their own salary. They made their own vacation. They create their own benefit. I get the point Mr. Tower made.
Yeah, but this is exactly why I'm saying we need to reel them in. They are not supposed to be among
I
us.
absolutely agree with you, Jimmy. I think
and that's the reason why we're going to protest this Tuesday.
I need to surrender and say because they keep doing it, therefore let's agree they don't work for us. I think it's resignation, and that is also what is contributing to the chaos that we're experiencing. These people represent us. We pay them. They're using our money. Therefore, they work for us. If we can't get them to do that, then let's record them. Let's remove them.
To
me, I think we are creating an enabling environment.
Brother Nangbe and Brother Eastman, the way by which you're supposed to reel them in is by law. They're supposed to pass that law. So you are stuck. Like
they can be recalled.
Like my brother Malcolm said, that we are trapped. We are
Look,
double trapped. We are triple trapped with these guys.
recalling elected
So
officer
this
is
is
not popular in Liberia only because we haven't
yes.
given him.
We have not done it. Even right now, even the protest that we're trying to do right now, other people are saying it's not going to hold because the lawmaker and nothing will stop.
Hold your
But
horses for 1 minute.
listen,
What
guys,
Mr. Tower is saying
that,
that there is
that
nothing in our constitution that gave us the citizens the right to recall their representatives.
Oh no, we do
So
have it.
they have to make the law. They have to
listen,
make that law, and they will not make the law.
That the
listen,
bully,
That's
yeah,
what
they
Mr.
can be
Tower is saying.
recalled.
listen,
No,
guys,
we do have a law that says we
listen,
can recall your lawmaker
listen,
or your
the
elected official. We
Constitution
do have it.
says, the Constitution says we need 10,000 registered
1,000
voters
signature.
in a district. But the catch here is after you have got the 10,000 signature, you have to take it to the House for them to basically try it among themselves and say, yeah, this guy need to be kicked out. So it's
Yeah,
not
but
like
we have not tried it before, so we can't say it will not work.
I understand. The thing is that, like in this country, it's an automatic trigger. If you are recall, there, if you are recall, the case go to them. All the crooks and say we want to move one of yours. Then they will get together and say, but man, they did a time trap. If we catch one, we catch all that kind of. Anyway, ladies and
We
gentlemen,
have to put it to test, Mr. Gaiman.
yeah.
But
Although
that's the
obviously,
point Mr. Tower is making. It wouldn't work.
of course, we have to test it. That's how
We
you
have to
do
put it to test. We can't just assume. It's
That's
because we have that
correct.
assumption. That's the reason why it have not worked.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's go to the next part here, and I'm going to start with Dr. Booty. Number 2, months ago, I think that was like in April or May, the LGEA got caught up. The Fadigas, the Kroma, the Kowo, they were out there fighting among themselves with guns involved. People almost got killed. Mr. Fadiga, in return, wrote a long letter saying to the world that Kroma is corrupt. He was confiscating drugs. He was actually working for Joseph Wakai's son. When the drug came in the country, there were some that he would say, this one you can't touch it, this one, all that kind of stuff. And then 3 weeks ago, the gentleman who was involved, the suspect in the drug case, he took the LGEA to court. And the court found out that Mr. Kroma confiscated $375,000 US and $2 million Liberian dollars from these supposedly drug dealers and a new pickup truck. The court says whenever there's a confiscation, the money has to be deposited into the government bank account. Mr. Kroma took the money home, never deposited the money. All the properties, he has them. So he was compelled to restitute this money. Up to now, we have not heard anything. The president did not mention anything about the investigation, but he went and fired them. And it looks like business as usual. Mr. Dr. Booty, you have these letters to your name, CT, in America here. When you go into the doctor, they say you got to do a CT scan. I mean, something is wrong with your head and they got to scan it. Mm-hmm. So scan the Liberian landscape for us. Do your CT scan, Dr. Booty. What is going on here? What is this president up to?
Well, we all know what the president is up to. We've been on this. I joined in March, and we've been discussing this for months, and I've remained consistent on my position that the president doesn't have the spine to lead Liberia through the times that we're in now. And unfortunately, look, when the president, I remember when President Weah was president of Liberia, and the U.S. sanctioned 3 of his officials. And he took the steps to suspend them immediately. And I think within a week or 2, the gentleman decided to resign. I think this president, yes, did something I felt was necessary at the time to suspend them. There should have been an investigation into what went wrong at the time. The fact that these people were putting the lives of their colleagues at risk, the fact that they were abusing the powers of their offices, there should have been an independent investigation to identify what was going wrong. Now, the president didn't do that. Clearly, he doesn't have the spine to do that because he might be afraid of these individuals. whatever the reason is, I don't want to go into. I think the replacing of them is long overdue. I think this should have happened long time ago. And let's, I think for me personally, I'm going to wait and see. I don't want to prejudge the new people that are coming in. You want to give them an opportunity to get in and see what. Because I remember when Mr. Provan came in, he was like Coca-Cola, he was foaming all around the place, and people thought that, oh, he's doing this, he's doing that, he arresting the person's son and that person's son, and then after a while, it went back to the same old thing. All right, so we have to give them some time to be fair to them, but look, if we were grading this government, I don't think that there is any sector in which the government scores more than the 30%. Right? I think they're doing that bad in terms of the management of the country. I would be very critical in terms of how the president has handled this. I'm not hopeful that the change will bring any benefit to the Liberian people. But again, we have to be fair. We have to give them the chance to show what they're capable of. And let's hope for once that he can get something right.
Well, but Dr. Budi, that was not the question. The question was that you needed to address. The president addressed the nation and said an investigation will be had, and within 2 weeks, they were impaneled to produce the investigative report, which they did. 6 months later, we are not hearing anything what the investigation said.
No, but like I said, the president, I don't know why he's not taking it. And I mentioned the fact that I think he doesn't have the spine to lead the country. And I think, look, this is I want to think it's an internal investigation. But at the same time, I think because it's a public safety issue, if your position on the matter is that the Liberian people should see what the investigation concluded, then yes, I think we should call for the president to release the investigation results so that people can judge the justifications for relieving these individuals of their duties. Whatever the outcome is, I think the right thing has been done, but done too late. But then judging these guys, we have to wait and see. Personally, I think it's up to the president if he wants to release it. But I'm open to agree with people to think that it should be a public knowledge matter in terms of the outcome of the investigation.
Great, Mr. Eastman. The objective of something called investigation is to derive out of finding. And if transparency and accountability is the cornerstone of your platform, and you do an investigation and you found that these people were legally liable and they are fired, wouldn't you tell the world why are they fired, Mr. Eastman? I think Jimmy is frozen. Mr. Nambe, if you constitute your panel to come up with a finding, and they come up with a finding, and the finding is so damning that the corporates are all fired immediately, wouldn't you say you are fired because you stole, you fired because you violated the law, you fired? These are what the findings say, because you told the country that you were going to be accountable, you were going to be transparent to the people.
Absolutely, Jerome. And I think we as citizens, even the journalists, I think they have a right to file for open records or whatever they ask. But yeah, those are public records, and I think the government should reveal them, or they should be. You can't just take the findings of an investigation and put it in a bag and set it down. No, you should tell us what was found. So, and all of this will help to instill integrity in this institution. So, if he's not going to reveal the findings, I think he should be made. People should go to court and compel the government to make those findings public. As I'm leaving the stage, I hope we'll talk about this. The ombudsman also gave the party activists who are in government 5 days. Today is the 6th day. I hope the government is also paying attention to that. All of these little things amount to integrity in the government, right? And this government really, I don't know, is fumbling all over the place. But yes, I agree. If the president is going to act on the result of an investigation, I think he should let us know what was found, because we were told that investigation was underway, and the finding of this investigation will determine how the president was going to proceed. Even though it took him over 5 months, when the report was made to him, he finally pulled the trigger, let him know what he's acting on. I think it will help them as well. I hope they realize that.
Great. Dr.
Yeah,
Taro. Oh, Mr. Eastman, you were
yeah, I'm
back.
open. Yes,
Okay, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, but I'm having a few technical. I hope I can last through. But let me make something real quiet. Real quick here. You know, contrary to what Mr. Towell says, that the system does not work, I honestly believe that we people are part of the system. And no matter what system you put in place, if the people are not going to have the integrity, the tenacity, the perseverance to carry out the system the way it's supposed to be, we're going to have these problems. Here is another example. The people, there was a case, they were investigated, fine. Why isn't this public information? Let's face it, where all of us are around the world. Would this not have been declared in the public and all the news media would have not carried the results of these cases? Why is it hushed? We are inherently covering up bad deeds. We do it consistently. Consistently. We cover up these bad deeds because we want to continue doing these bad deeds. So then Mr. Tower would argue, see, this system can't work. I told you this thing can't work. But if people are not making it work, why do we cover up these things? Why can't we bring them to light? It baffles me. And I can tell you, I only believe the reason why we don't want these things to come to light, to be exposed, is because we want to continue doing it. That's the only reason. There's no investigation, no audits, because the plan is to continue doing it. We haven't really made up our minds to turn this ship around, to walk in a manner that will make Liberia progress. We're okay with this mediocre, less than luster performance, and it's slowly breaking down the country. Eventually, the youth are going to be frustrated. I mean, I've seen programs how the youth, babies are being prostituted, and it's going to get even more and more severe because we're not building the industries that will give them a way of earning a livelihood. All these corrupt means and dishonest things that they're doing, it doesn't lead to jobs. It only leads to few enriching themselves on the little bit of money that we get. But we blame the system? No. We have to blame ourselves. When are we going to blame ourselves for covering up the dirt? When are we going to blame ourselves for not administering the law the way it should be? When are we going to blame ourselves for not admitting that we are greedy and we are inherently given to deals, side deals, kickbacks, and stuff like that? When? So I see this. It's unbelievable to me. Why, after you fire them, why don't we have the information?
Yeah. And to Jimmy's point, there are prescriptions for transgression against the law. If, for instance, if A.B. Croman took $300,000 from somebody, then firing him alone is not sufficient. Who's going to make this person whole? Is this thing going to fall on the government of Liberia to give back this person money? It should be made to restitute that money. But if the report indicate that, and we're not going to compel him to refund this person's money, then of course we have reason to keep it private, because we don't want the public to know what is going on. And this is where I'm indicating the integrity in the institution that most of them have already lost need to be restored. I think they should make the result of the investigation public. We all want to know, what is it that was found? Why is he firing these people? These are people at one point in time who held our confidence. A.B. Croman is well respected, as a very, very, high caliber law enforcement guy. Or why is he suddenly being removed from the LDEA? We need to know. We have to know. Why? Because A.B. Cromant was once a government actor. He left the stage and he was brought back. Who knows if he's not going to come back again in the future? What are we going to say about this gentleman and the other two gentlemen? So this kind of investigation, again, this is happening in the public space. Everything that happens in the public space belongs to the public. We have the right to know.
Great. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm coming to Mr. Anthony Gabe, but somebody asked the question whether we had a recall provision, and I just pulled it up in the 1986 Constitution, Article 91 and 92, and it says here, Section 2, a petition should be submitted to the legislator by not fewer than 10,000 registered voters, citizens that receive the concurrence of 2/3 of the membership of both houses. There you go. We're going to have the 10,000 signature to trigger the recall, but then it has to be sent to the House, and they have to do the process, and 2/3 of the House have to agree to expel one of their own before that person. And then once they agree, then they go through a referendum. And in the referendum, the people in the county or in that district have to have 2/3 of majority. So they make this thing so convoluted. But I'd agree with you, Mr. Gate. We have to try the process. Talk to us about if you're running Joseph Whitehead government and your pillars are transparency, accountability, and law, and rule of law, and all of that. Then your first test, somebody took $375,000 plus $2 million Liberian dollars plus a brand new pickup truck. It's a FOC. Is it in that report that maybe the money was divided, the money was sent to a couple of places, everybody got a piece? Is that why they don't want to do it? Talk to us. Why wouldn't they make this thing public?
You know, Mr. Gibman, when then President-elect Bouaka had his famous interview on VOA when he said there's going to be no business as usual. Guess what? He was speaking for us. There will be no business as usual. Not him promising the Liberian people, but we, the Liberian people, will compel these people to do the right thing. Mr. Gilman, while we are talking about the legislature saga right now, there is also an ongoing issue that we're going to remove Senator DeLong out of office using the same method. We will have the 10,000 signature right after the legislature stuff. We will petition Senator DeLong. He will be the first person. Look, we are not sitting here to wait for 2029 for the next electoral cycle for lawmakers to be held accountable. We will do the right thing. We will follow the law. And that's the reason why we are doing what we're doing. The first test is Tuesday. We will hold our lawmaker. We bought a new car. They refuse to go to work. They will be compelled to come to section and do the people's job.
They need to come to work in the new car, right?
Yeah, they need to come to work in a new car. Look, let me just say this, right? For too long, those children that were born when Taylor was first elected president in Liberia, today they are 27 years old. If you were born the year that Taylor got inaugurated as president of the Republic of Liberia, you are today 27 years old. Think about that picture for a second. And what have they seen? Bad governance their entire life. They never experienced what some of all had the opportunity to experience in normal day Liberia, where a bag of rice was $13.50 Liberian dollar. The highest rice was sold in Liberia before the war that was 25 Liberian dollar for 100-pound bag of rice. The real Busawa, the parboiled American rice, 25 Liberian dollar for 100 pounds. Think about that picture. You are 27 years old today. After the war, when Taylor was elected president, when you were born, you never experienced a good Liberia. So when are we going to wait? When will you have the opportunity to have a normal day Liberia? Thank God for social media. Thank God for the platform that we have today, that I can sit here and my voice can travel across the globe to reach the people. We will now start the process. We are now waiting for 2029. And once that process is started, and we have competent men and women leading this cause, the game is on. We're not going to wait for another 5 years where electoral cycle will come 2029. We're not going to do that. So I want to commend Mr. Eastman to say yes. The people themselves, if we don't take a stand, now, 2029 will be worse. So we will not wait for 2029. The Liberian people are tired. They have suppressed these people for too long. And the only thing they need is the support to get there. And we will provide that support. We will continue to do what we need to do. And Tuesday will be the beginning of the new Liberia, where we will stand up to these lawmakers. The new cars that we gave you, that you refuse to come to work, you will pay the price.
Thank you.
If I didn't know any better, Jerome, I would say young Mr. Gay is nostalgic about the old days of the Progressive Alliance of Liberia.
Obviously. Mr. Taiwo.
Yes, sir.
Here we are. You know most of the guys in the LGA, those are your buddy, the guy big muscle, the muscle people like you know, the guy, they come to your house, they choke you, they take your money from you, and you call the police, will beat you. That I've seen people took 300.
Jerome, wherever you went today, don't go there again, because today you're on fire.
Yeah, man.
I forget. I ain't really talk on the report issue. Just tell you my brother, all the Liberian people an explanation what happened.
You see the man, you see that man muscle, that man, that DEA man right there. Here, Fadiga better go over there. They choke no people get Lebanese people get there, but they can't go back to Lebanon.
No, because Fadiga made a lot of allegations, right? I'm sorry. Fadiga made a lot of allegations, and those allegations, investigation was levied. Firing them is not enough for us. We need to know what transpired. Right now, to fight drugs in Liberia, with the way FDA folks are paid, is wasting our time. These guys need to get paid good money, because anybody with money can do anything with drugs in Liberia. Liberia now is the drug hub of West Africa. Believe it or not.
Mr. Tao, your turn.
Sir. Okay. So in the first place, there are a lot of things that I will touch on in this, but the Fadiga and the AB Kroma, these are the diasporan brothers, right? Because when I mention it here, the same thing they do in Brooklyn Park, they do in Trenton, at the area they do in Southwest Philly. They fight each other. Isn't that why they brought to Liberia? They came from here claiming to be these professionals. They know how to lead a department, and they went there. What happened? They brought the same street stuff that they learned here from the U.S. Because the reason I'm making this point, each time I make this point, and I point at the diasporan group, because we don't hold our own responsibilities like a clique. Everybody else waiting for them to get there so that they too, when they screw up, so that nobody hold them responsible here when they run by here. But look, and Mr. Nangwe say, look, yeah, but the labyrinth that they hire there that do bad thing, and then no. The labyrinth that you hire there, they all operate under the directive and leadership of the diasporan group. That is the reality. So the diasporan group screwing up and messing up, the people in Liberia follow their example. Man, I have been in Liberia. The guys get there, they pretend like there's some kind of God. They act all kinds of ways. So they lead the tempo of how things go on over there. So if they change that, there will be a change. But look, the president supposed to release that information, right? But who are we kidding? In the first place, you can fight. First, when you say you have a drug issue, you have to identify what is leading to the drug issue. The problem is really not the drug. It is the economic, social-economic system or problem that is going in the country. So if you're going to fight drugs, what are you going to do? Just go ahead and beat up some little kids and arrest them and put them in jail? How does that stop it? Why are they doing drugs? It said that they don't have opportunities. It said that they are not trained in fields and areas, because a lot of people are graduating from all these universities and from these colleges and from good trade schools in Liberia. I have sponsored many people in the various areas into pay thousands of dollars, like the Don Bosco and Motopat and all these places, and they're really, really good. And they come out of school and there is no work. Nowhere for them to even be employed. So if they got involved in the drug, then the thing would be, because no. There is not. We are here in the U.S. There is the world's largest drug hub in terms of doing drugs, but they have programs that they put in place to address that. They don't just go and go fight the drug. What are you going to do? Or just beat up people? So this is the problem. So that is where the president was not serious. And then look at his budget for drug enforcement, for fighting drugs. Look at the budget. So, gentlemen, this is what we have. They don't have a clear policy. It doesn't matter who they change and whatever they do, the outcome is going to be the same. Okay, but look, let me close on this. Jimmy, my brother, always want to say that the system. No, it is the system. The system is flawed. Okay, so let's take this for example. If I am hired as a legislature, I set my own strike card, I set my own field, I decide what the value of the vehicle that you drive should be. I determine how to raise my own salary and all of this stuff. And you are telling me that I should be my own watchman because the system, no, the system is bad. That need to be out of scrap or change, gentlemen. You can't tell people any human being anywhere. Look, okay, let's look at the justice system. There is no justice for you unless you have money. You can be as innocent as possible. You better hire the best lawyer. That system is flawed. Let us be realistic here. Then the question is, what other system? That is not the point. Like Sylvanus Olympio said. He said when a man is sick, he listens to everybody that comes to his bedside. We are sick. We can't the fear of because we don't know any other system. So there's one system here that is not working, or at least in this present form. We just want to keep pushing it, and it's not working.
Great.
You tell people that they should go ahead and be president. You tell them to be representative, but then the means by which they have to be is for them to go and look for money to raise money to run campaign. In that process, people invest in them. And then when they win, they owe these people. That is the system. So we need to look at those aspects of the system and they need to be addressed. Hey, gentlemen, look at what happened here. Okay, let's look at it like this. Why should there be money for campaign? No, I'm trying to, because each time I mention it, they say, no, it's a culture. No.
We understand.
Yeah, the system is
let me get 30 seconds, please.
You coming to close this thing out. Go ahead.
It doesn't work.
Okay, great.
Now, hold on. I'll have 10 seconds after Dr. Booty.
Yes, Dr. Booty, close it out, and then you come with your 30 seconds. Then we'll go to, then after our next one, we'll be paying tribute to our former vice president, the late Benedict D. Warner, a man who served our country. Hopefully, Jimmy Eastman can come back and pull up his picture. We want to pay
Jimmy is subscribing to Starlink. He doesn't have internet.
Oh yeah, he ain't got internet. And they made a computer engineer. Go ahead.
The Starlink thing to all the other town. I can't go.
We're not talking about it anymore. Go ahead, Booty.
It's raining. The Saturday can see clearly. It's raining.
No, the ring should not bother the Starlink at all. Once it's hooked up right.
Let me jump in quickly. Look, I withdraw my earlier statement in which I said that it's up to the president. I think having listened to the members on the panel, I agree that it should be made public in the interest of transparency. I agree with that. I think on the issue of Mr. Tao and the system, look, it's always important when you criticizing something that you offer alternatives, right? However, let me just say something quickly. Democracy as a system is workable. If you ask the people in Rwanda, they say they have a democracy there. And as far as we know, Rwanda is working quite well in terms of working for the people. Now, I was just reading something now. There was an act passed in the US in 1989 that increased the salary of members of Congress, even though Congress sets their own salary. But it increased the salary every year according to, I think, the cost index, employment cost index. But since 2009, Congress has voted every year not to accept the increase. Now, these are the individuals in the system saying, no, the money we're making is enough. For the every year increase here, we don't think, even though it's the cost of living is rising with cost of living, we say no. So the point that Mr. Eastman and I make is, look, when the individuals in the system want the system, look, if you look at Mr. Dangwe and ask him, Yula, is Yula working? He will tell you Yula is working. Do they have rules? Do they have a constitution? Do they practice democracy? Yes. At the end of the day, the individuals in there decide that, look, we want to run this organization in a transparent way. We want to not steal the people money. We don't want to do this. We don't want to be. The individuals are always responsible. They don't even communism. You bring communism now. The reason that communism in Cuba worked the way it worked and they managed to keep their people as locked as that is because the individuals in the system bought into the idea. It didn't work in Russia because they were all of them won't be what they can call it oligarchs. So soon they get in small money here, they betray the system. So the system is not the issue. Thank you very much, Mr. Kevin.
Thank you. Ms. Anambe, you
No,
want
I quickly want to commend Dr. Booty for
I think that last statement I agree with it too myself.
Yes, I agree. So I think I might also make some adjustments in my initial claim about the Supreme Court's interference. I have to look at that, but I agree with him. I think there's nothing wrong with admitting if you think your judgment may have been missed the mark. So I commend him for that. But I wanted to tell Mr. Tao real quickly, and I'll be quick about this. Look, the point I'm making is there are bad actors in government. Some of them are from the diaspora, yes. Some of them are also local. I want us to make sure when we're describing what is happening in government, I don't want us to put it exclusively on those of us who are in the diaspora. I think that is faulty judgment. I'll tell you this: Mr. Josiah Jukai, who is at CSA, came from the diaspora. Even though he's making some moves here and there, but his net is positive. He's doing some good things in government. He came from the diaspora. Mr. Kamara at the LTA, who is taking so much money out of the Liberian people, came from the local. He was recruited locally. So I want us to balance this out. I just want to, I don't. He made that point, and the last time we spent so much time on it. I'm not saying we shouldn't criticize, but I want us to employ equal criticism. That's my point. Thank you.
Great. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take 1 minute each. For those of you who are old enough, who read or sing or talk or listen to Bishop Benedict Warner of the United Methodist Church, who was literally plucked out of obscurity to be vice president to William R. Tolbert after James E. Green died 2 days ago at the age of 86 in Texas. Mr. Eastman, if you went into our chat room, if you can please display the photo I just put there for Bishop Warner. Let's pay tribute to Bishop Warner. So let me start with the let me start with the man who have more knowledge about Bishop Warner, my partner, Mr. Victor Nambe. 1 minute. I mean, this is so critical. Bishop Warner, his legacy, his service to country, and his death.
Yeah.
Why do you remember? How will you pay a tribute to him?
Yeah. So may peace be to his ashes. He's left us, and so I think it would be unfair for me to be critical of him. But I'll be honest. This man was a crewman. I don't even know if more than 2 crew people knew him to be a crewman.
Crewman.
That's what I'm saying. Well, I heard he was a crewman, but I can't. I've heard
ambassador.
Okay. You can.
He's a Southeasterner. That's good. That's good.
Exactly. The point I'm making is I am hard pressed to say anything about him. I'm drawing a blank. That's what I'm saying.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mr. Tower, the Victor Nambe, the political analyst, the man who has the encyclopedia of Liberian politics, is drawing blank on Bishop Warner.
And I'm being nice, to be honest with you. Yes, I'm drawing a blank on the good things to say. That's what I'm saying. I can say a lot, but like I said, he's already left us. I don't want to dwell on that.
Joseph Tower, I am bewildered. I'm perplexed. Go ahead. Yeah. What do you remember about Benny Warner?
Yeah, you have to. I have to personally respect the position of Mr. Nambe, because remember the point at which Bishop Warner came to power or became vice president with Tolbert. Remember now that Warner didn't just get plucked out of just the Methodist. He was always in government. He was an advisor to the vice president and then to the president Tauber. And it's through all of that. So, and he was so close confidant to the president. So if there were policies and there were actions taken by Tauber or the Tauber administration that were heavy-handed against the progressives and against change, and then he was in that government. So if you read between the lines, he's passed, and they say you have to praise the dead. So he's saying that he draw blank. But as for me personally, I don't know anything about Bishop Warner. I have no memory of him. The only memory I have of him is a song by the Bassa, Mama Bassa people that they used to play because me growing up in the Mama Bassa community, so as a kid, like it was already like in the 80s when I used to hear the song by some Mama Bassa singer called George. I don't know if anybody remember that.
George, yeah.
Yeah, he used to sing. And so that is all that I remember. And then my dad would tell me stories about him here and there. And that's all I remember, but I have no real memory of him.
Thank you. Dr. Booty.
Well, I wasn't even born when he was vice president. Neither was I born when the coup happened. So it's quite difficult for me to and I'll be honest that in all of my research on Liberia, looking at Liberia history, I didn't dive much into vice presidents, apart from Vice President Tolbert, because he went on to become president. So I didn't, and obviously Harry Moneybar, it was during my time when I was born and stuff like that. But look, I think he served the country. I wanted to say something, and I was trying to do quick research, but then I couldn't find anything to help me on that. Because I wanted to say something with regard to the fact that if he was in Liberia in the 1980s, in 1980 when the coup happened and wasn't killed, then it should say something about the individual. But then I thought maybe he was out of the country. Maybe he was out of the country as well.
He was out of the country.
I don't know. Aha, you see? So I wasn't sure whether he was in or out. But whatever it was, he served our country. Whenever someone has served Liberia, we have to appreciate what they've done. But yeah, I don't know much about him. I think now I'll have to go and do some research to learn about him a bit more. But no, I can't. But yeah, I'm sure we, I would like to say to the family, you're normal, and sorry for your loss.
Excellent.
God can bless you. Yeah.
Our ultimate diplomat, Jimmy Eastmont. It is incumbent upon you and I to do Bishop Warner justice.
Have you started?
I will try. Let me first stop sharing. Let me first stop sharing. Now, okay, let me tell you what I recall of Bishop Warner. When the vice president died, I believe it was Gurridge, right, at the time.
James E. Green.
James E. Green.
Green. Okay, yeah, Green. There was a lot. The True Party was ruling those days, and they wanted a certain person from their group to be vice president, because the vice president was right in line to the presidency. So it took a while for President Tauber to decide who he was going to make. I think it was Gurridge who was one of the people they mentioned was Gurridge. There were other people, but I think he died or something along the way. And so one time President Tauber came and said he had a dream. What's like a visual, a vision. And in his vision, he saw Benny Warner to be the the best person for this choice. Now, Benny Warner, at the time there was this policy that there was a lot of the Congo people or the mean people in the government. So Tauber was trying to gradually change things to bring so it doesn't remain that way. And one of his intentions was to bring Benny Warner because he was actually of indigenous background. So That's what he would hope. But even though he had assimilated, and he had risen to the rank of bishop of the Methodist church. So it was not like he was nobody. He was always highly regarded, and he had risen in the society. It was one of those like Jackson F. Doe and Kakira Poto, those ones who broke through the ceiling no matter what. They were just exceptional men. And so he had broken through the ceiling. So they thought by bringing him in as vice president would be ushering in a new era, hopefully. Even though he was not the first indigenous vice president, we learned for the History Channel. There was Dawson. But when they said actively participant when things were going on, no, he was just it was just a rubber stamp. It was just a rubber stamp. And I know Mr. Nangme doesn't want to say anything, but I'm going to be just. It was just he just rubber stamped everything. He was not uniquely. He was quiet. He never, usually as a vice president, you don't have much voice, and he didn't. And it was just fortunately for him that when the coup took place in 1980, he wasn't even in the country, so he was spared. He might have been spared anyway, because a lot of people those days, if you're from an indigenous background, you were spared no matter what position you held. So he was spared. And he never had later on, Doe granted him clemency, and he was able to come to Liberia and do what he wanted. But he spent most of his time outside Liberia after that, and he kept on promoting peace and justice, and that's how we remember him.
Thank you. My recollection of Bishop Warner, he was one of the first people, intellectual, that I invited at the university here in Florida to do a fundraiser for me. 2012, he raised the first $20,000 for my organization. That's how powerful he was. The media was very interested in knowing who this man was. And he told them the story of something similar to the Trail of Tears, where the indigenous Indians were moved from their land and moved to Oklahoma. He says in the 1920s, when Firestone came, their parents were Mambasa people in the Marshall area, and they forcibly moved them out of there. It was through the process that he was adopted by some United Methodist folks, and he lived on campus. He learned to read, and he wrote a book. He left me the title, Black Mark on White Paper. That is his legacy. He wanted to tell his parents that he was finally learning how to read. And they told him what is it? And he would tell the folks, we do black mark on white paper. So he was teaching my kids Bassa and the history and all that. And he came back the second time in 2014. And he preached a heck of a sermon at the St. Paul Methodist, African Methodist Episcopal Church, where he laid out his vision. He says when he was appointed, when Tolbert called him, Tolbert told him his appointment was not only a victory for the common man, but it was victory for common sense. That he, as a critic of the government, a Methodist bishop prelate that was critical of the Baptist prelate, for him to have swallowed everything and reach across the aisle and say, yes, my Methodist brother, come. You got a lot of ideas. Let's change the country. So when you see some of these things, what he did and what they intended to do, you see the opening of the country to the common man, to regular folks, the Samuel Jacksons, Jackson Doe, and all these people coming. These were what Tolbert produced between both of them called gradualism. That is, we cannot change the country abruptly, but we do it gradually, where we can bring in these young, bright native boys and girls to eventually help move the country forward. So when you hear the word gradualism, I think those of you who are old enough will understand that Tolbert, it was one of the cornerstones of his change of gradualism. So Benedict Warner, a great man, after he left, he came and began to teach in Oklahoma at a United Methodist University. You know, he's a scholar. He's a graduate of Boston Theological Seminary, top of his class. So he was no joke. So Dr. Warner, we want to bid you farewell. In fact, my wife and the kids, they are saying we should fly to Oklahoma or Texas, wherever they will have the funeral to pay our tribute. A great man. Now let's segue into the next one. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf turned 86. And some people say she was talking junk. She says the people should start the librarians at a crossroad, they should start talking, making noise and make policy and blah, 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 blah. And then Taiwo on the other hand say, Ellen, you should be the last person telling us we shouldn't make noise when you laid a bad policy, you set the high salary, you made bad law, things that have become albatross around our necks, and we can't get it out. You can't lecture us on good governance. You got this country on a bad footing. The country, the new republic was zero. They gave her a blank piece of paper, like Bishop Warner said, blank piece of paper with no black mark on it. And this is what should be bequeathed to us. People making, if you are elected in the Liberian House, at 15 to 21,000, you are guaranteed to make $2 to $3 million in 6 years. Guaranteed. So if you talk a boy like me from Boconjile who is working in the United States, making $3.35 or $15 minimum wage, and I tried my luck and won, I have become from a $15 an hour man to an instant millionaire. That is a quantum leap. There's nowhere in the world you can tell me that somebody will make $225,000 if you're not a CEO or top doctor to make that kind of money. So when Dr. Taiwo talk about us in the diaspora coming here with all these schemes, Mr. Taiwo, this time I have to agree with you because I've been there. It was Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. Her top people, they were all top people from the diaspora. We talk about Minister of, I think, Commerce, Finance, Saye. We got Minister of State. We got Donzo, Minister. I mean, we got all the best that Liberia had to offer. In fact, they were the New York Times called them. They call them how they call it? Crack 18. The best brain that Liberia has to offer from the diaspora for the new Liberia, and this is what
Crystal Agriculture.
Yes, there you go, Dr. Crystal, Minister of Agriculture, and he couldn't even solve the caliper problem. Dr. Booty, I'm beating on these people because rightfully so. Talk to me. We got about 20 more minutes here. Our people from the diaspora, I know this because I was there during the formation of the ACDL. My uncle Tom Woyu, I was his secretary. I was there. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, I think let's wish the old lady a happy birthday, whenever the birthday was. I'm not a fan of President Sirleaf. I've said it on multiple occasions, not just on this platform, but everywhere I have the opportunity to say it. She is responsible for a lot of the situations that started in Liberia. I'm not going to blame her for what's happening now. She started some of these things. But the thing I always say to people in Liberia is, what do we expect, right? If you take Mr. Eastman now, who is an engineer, and make him president of Liberia, it's engineer ideas that he's going to use to run the country. He ain't going to go there with bring political ideas or banking ideas or economic ideas. It's what he knows. It's what he's going to do. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf came from the development sector, right? The United Nations, African Development Bank. And these institutions are bureaucratic, wasteful, right? If you see some of the salaries that these people pay for these guys to go and work overseas, you can't even fathom how one person can get paid 20,000, 25,000 a month. So that's what Ellen Johnson Sirleaf is used to. So what did we expect her to do? Come to Liberia and start paying people $50 when she used to paying people 15,000 and 20,000? So same thing with President Weah when he was president. They may have been playing football for a long time. Usually when he come to Ghana, he hang here, boys and hang around together, they drink their little team, they enjoy themselves, they party, he saw the man new dance, he brought their feet again. I say I won't practice the dance. How do you expect him to run the country? He will run the country the way how he knows how to do it, right? when he was running Lone Star, anybody say any player say something to him, say, "Oh, you ain't playing again." You know, similar to Joseph Boyka. We gave contract to somebody that can't walk straight. That didn't know what he hasn't. He always been a number 2, hasn't been a number 1 before. Like a serious number 1, people say, okay, but LPMC, yeah, but that's not number 1 there. That's just practice ground there. You know, he hasn't been a serious number 1 for any major organization. How do you expect him to act like a number 1? So look, Ellen messed it up. President Weah had an opportunity to clean it up. He didn't. Joseph Boyka King, he said he rescued Papa. He ain't doing nothing. So let Lee Ellen. Yes, she chakla her own, but we've had 2 individuals now. Well, 1, and we've got the second one that should clean this thing up. Now we can't keep blaming Ellen for something that happened way Charlie Kingston that the common people can say. You know that ever same there. Let's focus on the here and now. These are the people that are in power. You're changing. So you say Ellen spoiler, you're facing now, so we can see better. Your leader, oh my yeah. Let her sit down by herself. She already chakla. We agree. You'll leave it. You'll try and fix what it is. Now, quickly on the legislature, that one, not Ellen. But come to man, you go Liberia, they make you representative, you start collecting 15,000, not Ellen. The legislature can set their own salary. Yes, you can attribute some of it to Ellen because when they look in the executive, they see Dr. Toden walking road with 15. They see the man from Maritime walking road 25. So, oh, but that guy was at 15 too. You know, so that's the standard. But they had the choice of saying, no, this is not right. They had the choice as legislators to say, this is not right. Let's set a better example. They chose not to. Now, one day you can't blame Ellen.
You're muted.
Before I go to Mr. Tawo, let me play this here so we can listen to it. Hopefully, it is clear.
As I greet you through this message this morning, join me in thanking God for the blessings of life. I thank God as I clock 86, the blessings of life, blessings of challenges and opportunities, blessings of excitements and sorrows. The latest sorrow being the sudden death of my 2 older professional sons in a short period of 2 years apart. But the message today is not about me. It is about you. It is about us. It is about the country. Liberia is at a crossroads. Liberia's story, historically, is one of cleavage, the failure to assimilate, of political chicanery, and there's still too much of it today. Yet, with resilience, we have overcome these setbacks. And the worst of hard times, we have prevailed. Moreover, we have survived 2 rigorous military rules, 2 decades of devastating wars, and a horrific disease, Ebola. But just think of the noteworthy parts of our history. The support we have provided for the liberation efforts of other African countries that has been fundamental to Africa's sovereignty. Women have played a crucial role. For example, Chief Swakoko, the strong woman chief who fought to bring the first major investment to Liberia, Firestone. We had the first African woman to head the United Nations General Assembly, G. Brooks Randall, and I was elected democratically the first woman president on the African continent. As we embark on another regime of promised political change, the stakes are high. We must respond because the world is changing. Bilateral and multilateral relationships are repositioning. Demands for national self-reliance will be the requirement of our people. We are proud that Africa is seen as the continent of the future, and several African countries are responding to this call with reimagined structures and systems to achieve their potential goals. Several are moving rapidly to claim the future, but yet others, engulfed by recurring bad habits, are being left behind. Let's face it, Liberia is one of those countries that will be left behind, even when compared with our closest neighbor, which no longer follows our lead. It is time for reflection, my people. It is time for us to work. It is time to stop the steal. It's time for honesty and time for changing minds and attitudes. It is time for our legislature to make laws and not noise. It is time that our judiciary get on with settling cases and dispense justice without being compromised. It is time for the executive to speak, but speak with the power of exemplary behavior. Some will ask, why this message now? It's because time for us, time for Liberia is running out. Why am I doing this? Because I'm a leader and because I care for the good of the country. Silence makes us all culpable in wrongdoings. Wish me a happy 86th birthday.
Okay. This is it's a mouthful. When you
Mr. Gibby, you need to correct what the president said. We've not had 2 military coups.
well, listen, let's look at what she's talking about. The main point there is that there are countries in Africa that are embracing the change and forwardness, and there are some that are backward and will be left behind. And she said Liberia is one of those countries that will be left behind. And then she used a word that is very, very critical for the July 26th oration: reimagined. Reimagine that Dr. Palin made that word famous. Liberia should reimagine our position. We are backward. It's time to make policy and not noise. She also said this was not about her, but she mentioned losing 2 of her professional children, not 2 human beings, but 2 professional children. What's about those that lost thousands of family members because they were not professional, so they are not tragedy? Mr. Eastman, we got 20 minutes.
I'll try to be brief. Full disclosure, I was very close to this family, even though I'd never exploited it. Her son, the first one that died, was my oldest friend I had in this world. We're 3 years old together in Kakata. I call him the oldest friend I've ever had. I don't know anybody that long. And his brother, who were born the same year, one in January, December, were right behind us. But with all that said, the 3 things I see a criticism of what she said. She said, first of all, Liberia is the story of Liberia is one of cleavage. That means a deep divide. Mm-hmm. Yes, that has been a problem for us, and we could have handled it much better. It's difficult to say why it couldn't have been handled better when you're not wearing a shoe, but definitely we see that fairness is it should have been a key motive of everything we did. Then she said another thing was a failure to assimilate. Again, that it sounds like is she re-emphasizing the divide and how we should have come together and become a blend, a more homogenous group of one people. That's what usually people in this America right here. They're people who are Indian heritage or Japanese heritage, but the foremost if they're American. That's how we're supposed to be thinking. And if you come to assimilate, you recognize your differences, but your differences is not as much as the things you have in common. And so you become homogenous, one, you sync and blend. Then this is what rubs me of that whole speech. She talked about chicanery. Chicanery refers to using deceit and manipulative tactics, misleading actions, cunning arguments designed to mislead, confuse, and exploit others. wait a minute. Okay, I agree with her. This was what was done in the old, but it was also recognized in her administration. Why did it have to be that way? A lot of people thought she would have brought the change. I don't know if y'all know, but when they talk about the progressive, she was part of that from the grassroots. She was part and parcel. She started a whole lot of things. The woman went to jail, and the first thing she did when she came to jail, she lifted her hand up in victory. Brave soul. So you would wonder why now, after you have come to the helm, why didn't you make a change? And I will tell you why. And it's the same thing I was talking to Mr. Tower on. We still want to use those old tricks. It's just easier to use than you going the hard way. And if we don't reimagine, yes, but we have to resist. It's like an addiction. You have to resist that addiction to using trickery, sham, all kinds of manipulative to get your points across. When will we resist these things? And so I have mixed feelings. Yes, she did sort of talk the truth about a lot what we've been through, but when it was her chance to change the direction, and she also fell victim. Why do we always fall victim? What will that mean with the Wakai government? What does that mean with governments to come? Are we going to continually fall victim to these weak practices?
Great. Mr. Nambe, the reason that most people say that she's full of hiccups, she said now the stealing should stop. She didn't stop it, but now she said these guys should stop stealing. At least we have stolen. You should stop stealing. The stealing should stop. Don't do it like in the past. Mr. Nambe,
I mean, a lot of my colleagues have already said this. First of all, this president, she's a pseudo progressive. She enjoyed a lot of support from the progressive community. I remember 1985 when she returned to the country after insulting the entire PRC, called them names and all of that. They were imprisoning her. I was a vice president with Lynn Sudan, and I remember very well. We went to bat for this woman. We advocated for her. We stood in her corner. That's what she did. The community we said I stood with her. When she became president, what did she do? Cronyism, nepotism, brought her children and enriched them. This woman was able to have almost $5 billion of Liberia debt forgiven. What is she leaving the country? I think $150 million, whatever she said she left to where. You understand? What did she do? Over 60 fraudulent agreements that she left us. And she has the gall to sit here and talk what? All of this illegal removal of people who were legally elected, she normalized all of that. Edwin Snow is sitting right here to Alex Tyler is sitting right here to attest to that. So I don't know really how she has the gall to come and tell us what. Tell us what? What does she really have to offer? She came here, pillaged the country, enriched her family and her children. That's what she did. And now she's enjoying and sitting over. Happy birthday to her. I'm happy she finally reached, 86 years old. God bless her. But she needs to shut up and sit down. She has absolutely nothing to offer what is happening here. She is part of the problem we're dealing with today. She is part of the problem we're dealing with because she wanted to pass these fraudulent agreements. She normalized increasing the salary of the legislators. She introduced that. She let them have their way and give them all the brown envelopes so they will look the other way and have all pass El Nito and all of these bogus agreements, selling the oil wells and all of that. She did all of that. So how does she now have the moral compass to come here and advise her? Advise us on what? On what? She has absolutely nothing to offer. Absolutely nothing. She's a former president, and so we give her the courtesy and respect. But she really needs to watch how she interferes here because we know a lot of our colleagues continue to tell that even in her retirement, she is influencing the political space. We understand that. We know that. She has money, so she wields a lot of power in Liberia, but she really needs to take it easy because of interference in the space is not healthy from the time before you became president, while you were president, and even afterwards. She has nothing to offer but disaster and disappointments, corruption, all of that. She's all of that.
Thank you. Tao, you got the last 2 minutes here. The lady
Yeah.
said, you should stop the chicanery. You should stop the deceit. You should stop the stealing. All that. We got 2 minutes.
Before I start, I'll make a disclaimer. I don't know this family. I was never close to them. None of me and their children grew up together. So yeah. But look, in a country where
We'll send you to subscribe to Starlink.
Yeah.
yeah, in a country where things are normal and people are being held accountable, the lady will be in jail. If she opened her mouth for her to speak, it should be a speech of apology to the Liberian people. For her to actually be speaking and trying to lecture us. I don't want to bring it to that same level, but it's almost on a smaller level of fanatic Kofa trying to lecture at Yola people and talking about rule of law and transparency. But look, this lady was responsible, and I hope that Gabudi, because he did something that we will all try to do, or we must do, come back and take back, saying that we should leave her alone. Happy nothing who? What happy nothing who? This lady was responsible for sitting in New York, calling people together. I know some of the people personally trying to plan all these wars, because she so desired to be president that she was willing to destroy the country at any level. So me and you in exile, political and economic exile today, she's directly responsible for these things. And then when she got the chance for her to try to mitigate these things and to rectify, to correct it, you know that I know people personally that she caused their death. She caused the death of a lot of people from the diaspora. You know how she caused it? Because when she came in with this false sense of Messiah stuff that people took on their retirement. People sold their properties, ready to come back home. And when they returned, she screwed up everything. That those people went broke, bankrupt. They came to a country where corruption was everywhere. They lost everything. They came back here. They couldn't handle it to try to restart. Most of them died. So when she's sitting there, why by the thousands, when she said, let them burn down the country, let them do this, she will build in 3 days or the mansion, all this one. People, children died. And this lady had the chance. In 2017, I was there when after she plundered and pillaged the entire country all over the place. I don't know how people didn't see this. All of the things that we are dealing with, it's almost impossible for this country to come from under the weight of what she created. Absolutely. By the time she was done, every money-making area that was in Liberia was privatized or quasi-privatized. That is why you can't do anything at the port. That is why you can't do LPRC, or not PRC, but LEC. Those places are privatized. People don't know that.
Thank you.
So this is where we are. So for her to sit there and say they have salaries, just like Mr. Nangwe said, because she was trying to pass all the corrupt deal, bankrupt Nakao and all this stuff, she allowed those, when they put the salary, it went to her for her to sign it, for it to be law. She signed those things.
Thank you.
So she shouldn't sit here. And you know, I like.
Good, he's frozen. Dr.
Darlings.
Dr. Budi, Dr. Budi, your 1 minute closing.
No, I think it has been a great show. I think I'm glad that we all agree that what's happening at the legislature needs to stop. That our representatives need to do the work of the Liberian people. I'm glad that we all, in one way or another, honored our former Vice President Bishop Warner for what he's done. Some of the good stories I heard from Mr. Eastman and from Mr. Gaiman as well. So that's great. And I'm also glad that we're all in agreement in basically telling former President Shirley to find somewhere in that bro to sit down and just lead the team because she had her opportunity, she messed it up, and she is not the person that should be lecturing anyone right now because most things. And thank you, Mr. Tao, because it didn't click that obviously the president has to sign these budgets when they come to her, so she could have said it back to them and said, "Look, if you don't reduce the salaries, I will not sign it." So thank you for raising that point as well, and thank you everyone for a great show.
Great. Mr. Tower, 1 minute, please. 1 minute this time. We gotta go.
Yes, gentlemen. I'm glad to be here, and I always look forward to being here on Sundays, no matter what I'm doing. But the legislature don't work for you. In theory, yes, but practically they don't work for you. You hire them for the 6 or 9 years that they're in power. They don't listen to you because you have no authority over them. You can't do anything. You don't have a repeal law. Just like what Mr. Gaiman read, you have to go ahead and get 10,000 signatures, even though that constituent put them in. But that constituent still don't have the power to remove them. You have to send it back to them. They will have to decide. They're never going to decide. So you can't remove nobody.
Thank you.
You are stuck. The only way to save that country is not going to be for you to remove those guys. They need to be removed. The system need to be reviewed. The rules need to be rewritten through referendum that don't involve any of them, and a new system need to be put in place, even if it's a democratic system. But the rules that are in there, that the way the government function, need to be changed. It need to be modified.
Thank you.
Actually stop them from having that kind of authority to decide everything on their own.
Thank you. Mr. Nagwe.
Yeah, I thank you very much, gentlemen. A great show, great contributions to all. Look, I agree with Dr. Budi and Mr. Tao. Happy birthday to the former president, but if she has nothing to offer, she should just leave us alone to wallow in the mess that she created while we're trying to fix it. The legislators, I think they have the right to remove their speaker for cause if they so desire, but we are only encouraging them to follow the law. This is a country of laws. Do it within the confines of the law. Come to the Capitol. There's a process laid out. If you want to remove the speaker, you're welcome to do so, but do it properly. So my Eagles are winning. I'm excited. It's a great Sunday.
Okay, my Dolphins
before I drop the mic, let me commend Dr. Budi too. That's something we all don't do so often. I think there's nothing wrong with saying, you know what, this is how I saw it, but I think this is not a bad way to look at it. So that's something I think we should all take lesson from. But great show. Hope to be with you guys again next Sunday. Mr. Tao, I plan on being here next week.
You hear that?
Mr. Eastman, take us home.
No. What are you telling me, Mr. Tao?
I'm just messing with you.
No, but the reason why I made a disclaimer, even though you were making a joke, is because I know those people, and I still would be very honest and frank about it. Okay, and I never went there. Okay, that's all I was trying to say. But it is occurring to me more and more. We thought we had a revolution in 1980. We did not, because in essence, a revolution upends established ways of thinking and operating, usually with profound and lasting impacts on culture, society, and knowledge. It's not a change of personnel, and you do the same thing. So what we actually do need a revolution to this way we think is wrong. Chicanery, like the woman we're talking about, it is wrong. This is not how we go about doing business, and it has never changed. It has never changed. It looks like it's the norm. You could go get things done in the ministries before. You could go pass your paper. You could go get a passport. You didn't have to bribe. You cannot do anything now. We do need a revolution, but this revolution, not a war, but a complete upending of the way we think. Start thinking differently along noble lines of integrity and honesty. We need that for our people to get refreshed, because this way of thinking right now it just keep on leading us in the wrong direction.
Thank you.
That's all I got.
Get
Uh,
us
ladies, and,
Starlink, Jimmy.
ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in. My assessment, I had to make a little disclaimer after I visited Liberia doing a lot of work. Supported WEA 2005, 2011, but I still went to Liberia and took some investors, and I do a lot of investment there. She met with me twice, and she sent my children, all of them, an autograph Christmas card, nicely written to each of them, and we have them. So whatever that is worth, it still did not Stafford my discontent, because from what I see, when the folks talk about the educated folk in the diaspora, for Amos Sawyer and that group to sit in Liberia to write a constitution, to say one man would be in power for a decade, and then another one 6 years. And then Ellen came and she wanted $40 million in the presidential coffer. I was there because my friends from Basso were in a negotiation, Baron Brown. He told the president, if you want $40 million in the office of the state for presidential affairs, then at least you got to get us 20 grand a month. The president did a calculation, say 103, 20,000, that's about $4 million. That's not bad. You'll take it. You'll take $4 million, $5 million, and give me my 40. Not only did they negotiate that, but it was written into law.
You hear that, Dr. Booty?
So for these guys to change for you to change the salary scheme, you have to repeal.
I've already agreed with you, Mr. Towers. Just leave it now.
And who's supposed to repeal? Who's supposed to repeal the salary? You saw what Joe Weah did. Joe Weah tried to put forth a referendum to reduce the presidential term, and what they did? These guys fought Joe Weah tooth and the referendum died. What did Dillon and Prince Johnson said? If you agree with Joe Weah going to use that to come say, I'm going to reset my term and I'm starting all over. That was the scam.
Well, that was a real threat, though, Jerome. That was not no feeble threat.
Yeah, but listen,
your man wanted to perpetuate himself.
But listen to this. Listen to this. Even if you wanted to do that, and you have brought down the presidential term to 6, and the representative to 3 or 4, that would have been a better trade-off than to say,
you should have decoupled that from this.
Well, we all said they all have to go.
Yeah, but that was a mistake.
Yeah, well, no, we don't want to do that. We could have accepted that and changed it. Instead, we killed the referendum, and these guys kept their money. In fact, they have now begun to get themselves raises. And there's nothing you can do because the law gave them that power until the repeal. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Next Sunday, it's 4 o'clock on the East Coast. It's On Point. We thank all of you guys for your comments. I'll play some of them. Some of you guys from Liberia, from Grand Jita, from Grand Bassa, obviously Sam Waller is here. Thank you very much. Fix Electronics. Someday I would like to see who you are. And all of you who contributed. Mr. Eastman, thank you very much. Victor Nam.
We are Liberia. Liberia is our home. Liberia people. Here you raise it all we want. Liberia, oh. Here you raise it all we want. Liberia, Liberia.